Welcome to our 100th anniversary celebration, September 19th, 2019. I'm here with my fellow volunteers, Jan. You want to register here with your name. And Jill, my other very capable partner in crime. And we're having a good time. There's so much here to see. The displays are wonderful. And welcome.
That's your job for the day.
What is it for?
Yep.
This is our 100th anniversary celebration.
Oh, wow.
100 years of the medical center.
Well, actually, we've had a really good turnout and a lot of former employees that have come back to see everything.
Tell me about the wonderful prizes here.
Oh gosh. Well, they're all wonderful. This one is for 1:30 today. It's got 2 gift certificates, one for our cafeteria and one for Marketplace, and a couple cookbooks.
Fill out a name tag.
We have drawings every
First
hour.
name, last name is
So
optional.
you have to be here for the drawings, but they're all wonderful prizes.
My name is Carolyn. And this is Stephanie. Hello.
Okay. And Stephanie, what are you two doing here by the elevator?
We are directing people downstairs to the Riverbend conference room where all our historical pictures and paraphernalia is, and then there's also food down there.
Food?
Oh, good food.
You were part of it. That's right.
It had to look like you were comfortable.
Oh dear.
Somebody had a time to wait.
Yeah. How are you? Hi.
Hello. Welcome.
Certain way to go.
Just wondering if they did the drawing yet.
I am getting ready to make the 1:30 drawing, so hopefully all you folks who dropped
Hey, tell me about the food here today.
Going back to my work.
What do we got?
Okay, these are veggie pizzas. We also have a vegan option for people who, or we have a few vegans around here.
Oh,
So
okay.
we like our vegan and vegetarian friends. Fresh fruit veggie tray, fruit tray, mini quiches.
Now look at this guy. He's getting a lot of fruit. That's good.
Yeah, gotta have the
How tall are you?
fruit. 6'6".
6'6", and that's because of fruit.
Right.
Fruit, yeah.
Do you know strawberries promote
Oh,
lung?
he's full of it. Wow.
Okay, so we have a nice assortment of fruit, and that's very well presented too.
Thank you.
Yes, and what are these little twinkle cups?
These are mini quiches. So they're filled with cheese and spinach, onions, eggs. These are stuffed cucumbers. So it's we actually made these they're cucumber cups that we made ourselves. And these are handmade cheese puffs. This little doughy, cheesy goodness.
Oh.
And they're just a little bite size, so it's good.
Yeah.
Because we wanted this to be like a tea party, because tea parties are big in 1919. So we have like little sandwiches with no crust. Very important. And this is spanakopita, which is phyllo dough wrapped with spinach and feta cheese.
And what is your name?
I'm Catherine.
And are you with the food service here?
I am. I'm the Director of Nutrition Services.
You have done an excellent job here.
Thank you.
Just salute everybody if you would. Give me a little salute.
Yep.
All right.
Well, I became involved with this hospital because my husband was Dr. Young and still is.
Well, you mean this guy over here?
This guy.
I see.
Right, yeah. And so we moved from Bloomington, Minnesota to this lovely area so that we could raise our family here. And I became involved in the auxiliary at that time. Mostly made up of women, to do projects that would help to enhance what the hospital does with patients. one of the fun things that we did way back was to do hand puppets that children would be given if they came in for surgery or if they had to stay in the hospital, in hopes that it would help them to tell their story about what happened to them and about, the hospital workers that were helping them. So, there were many candy stripers, and it's amazing how many of the candy stripers, those youth that have worked in the hospital as a volunteer, are now going into medicine-related kinds of work.
Yeah.
And now they're back working here in our community.
When I worked here, I worked under the name of Gretchen, my middle name. I worked as a candy striper for a little bit in the middle of the 50s, and then I was a nurse's aide in the late 50s, and I worked in the laboratory in 1960 to 61. While I was a nurse's aide, I was going to school in college. And I remember, I don't remember the older Dr. Riegel, but Fred Riegel was my regular doctor. I remember Dr. Olson. He was our neighbor across the street when I was growing up. Dr. Fred lived above us where I lived. And then my mother worked as a nurse here at the hospital, and my dad was on the board to build the hospital.
What was your dad's name?
My name Dallenbach.
Okay. Jeff?
Yeah, I remember that hospital because when I first worked as a nurse's aide, it had just been built, and I remember when we first, they was so full, there were about 30 beds, I think, and they were so full that they had beds out in the hallway when they first opened with screens around them. At that time, they had a hospital in Frederick and one in over in Minnesota. Both those stopped, and then one here in St. Croix.
Do you remember some of the other people you worked with?
Yeah, when I worked, one of the first ones at the new hospital was Adrian Thompson. He was administrator, and then Francis Johnson trained me as an assistant nurse's aide. Because when I just got out of high school, I worked as a nurse's aide for a while. And we were making 75 cents an hour. And that was good pay back in the late 50s.
Wow, that's amazing.
I went into I was going into nursing, but I ended up in medical technology instead. And I worked in the lab, and I worked by myself. And we were doing it without machines then. But when I trained in 59 to 60 in St. Cloud Hospital, they were just starting machines then. So, but when they got here, there was a thing to do on potassium and sodium and potassium, but the CO2 you did them by hand. I remember one of the reasons why I left here is we had two bleeders going the same time, and I was up about 48 hours straight, and I had no help. And when you got tired, you just laid your head on the desk because we had drew blood from them regularly. They both survived.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Well, my maiden name was Fair, F-A-I-R. So I used to be fair, but now I'm young. So, and wasn't that a good choice?
Has she used that line quite a bit?
Oh, yes. But she's still fair.
You actually knew Fred Riegel?
Oh, yes.
Well, tell me how you interacted with him.
Well, we knew the Riegels because both my dad and my brother were in the hospital in 1947 at the same time. One with a ruptured appendix, and another, my brother had a case of diabetes, severe case of diabetes. Both laid on their deathbed here for days. And I was left at 12 years old with my mother to run the farm after we lost both of them to hospital care in Cushing. That's our connection with St. Croix Hospital.
But
with
they did their best, I hope.
They did. Yeah. Thanks to a lot of tubes in my dad's nose and mouth, sucked out all the poison from the ruptured appendix, and he survived. Lived to be 93 after that. Died in 85, so he, almost lived another 40 years from that point on.
Rita, is Ron telling the truth?
He is, absolutely. I've heard the story many times.
Okay, you can verify it. It's
Diane Gall.
Diane, say hello to everybody
Hello, everybody.
who's ever been. You've met a lot of people since you worked here, right?
Yes, I did.
Now, were you a brain surgeon? Was that it again?
No, I was a discharge planner. When patients went home from the hospital, I would assist them with home care or hospice, whatever their needs might be when they went home from the hospital.
Oh,
Or
so you
nursing
wouldn't
home.
just cut them loose and that's it?
Oh no, we didn't just send them out on their way. We had to make them work for it first.
That sounds like good care.
That's right.
So, who did you work with that you remember?
Oh my goodness.
Some of your favorites.
Oh, Carrie Peer, Mary Peterson. Oh, I'm just trying to think of names. Julie Landau were some of the nurses. Bunny Kratzky was our social worker. So, yeah, those were some of the people that I worked with for a long time. We would talk about the patient, and then we would meet with the family and decide what was going to happen with this patient when they went home. Whether they were just discharged and went home without any care, that was, they didn't need anything. Otherwise, if they had to go to a nursing home, then we discussed that with families and coordinated that with the family and the patient, and tried to get them in a location that was close by their home. So if they were from St. Croix or Cushing or Tellers Falls, we were trying to get them in Good Samaritan or wherever was good for their family, so the families could come and visit them.
Can a person just get up and leave a hospital without the doctor's permission?
You can. It's called against medical advice, and it's not advised. It happens occasionally where someone decides they're just gonna go, but that's not something that we try to discourage that in a big way. And sometimes it's multifaceted as far as who's going to help them with this. If they decide they're going to leave, there's several people that try to go in and convince them or get them to change their mind. And sometimes it doesn't work. It doesn't always happen.
Well, I suppose for the men, if they have a cute nurse, they'll stick around, right?
Right? Probably, yeah.
And if for the women, if they have a handsome doctor?
Probably, yeah. Yes, you're right.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
One of my first jobs was a meat cutter downtown with the Erickson brothers. Glenn Fellon was the manager, and Cliff Swenson was the butcher. We used to hang hindquarters of beef for Dr. Regal, and we would age them for about 2 or 3 weeks, so he'd get a good steak.
Well, what do you do when you age? They're not just hanging there, are they?
Well, they're hanging in the cooler until they get mold about half-inch thick on them, and then you know they're tender. That's what I remember about Doc Regal.
Well, he had good taste in steak, didn't he? Yeah, thanks for that tip.
Well, my dad spent his whole life in town here, so I mean, it was 30 years of working here at the hospital, and he had a good team of nurses and doctors, and helped a lot of people, and loved what he did. And
did you go into the medical field?
Yep, there's 5 nurses, dental hygienist, and a pharmacist in our family. So, kind of, my mom was a nurse. She was very busy raising 7 daughters. And there was 7 weddings and 30 years of college, so they were busy people. So I've got a funny story because, back in the old days, there wasn't cell phones, there was telephones. But, my dad was on call all the time. And we had Dr. Lagas living next door to us, so I do remember a day when he came over knocking on the door, telling us to get off the phone with 7 daughters. There was always somebody on the phone telling him, he came over to say the hospital's looking for your dad. And so he said, well, I guess we got to get off the phone. So that's a little memory.
Wow.
Yeah, well, 7 daughters and 7 girls. 7 girls. in a short amount of time, 7 years. So.
Is that a lot of boys hanging around the house too?
And not a credit to my mom, they always came for Mrs. Olson's coffee.
There you go.
She was, like my dad said at his retirement, he said she was my anchor, and that was true.
I'm Miriam Lagas. I have been with here for over 50 years, working as a volunteer. My husband is a physician here, and he has practiced here for 50 years, Marty Lagas. And we have been here, I've been involved with the auxiliary and also volunteers, or volunteer partners. And I started from, not the very beginning, because we came here in 1966. And I've done just about everything here at the hospital. Gift shop, I work at the information desk right now. I've done kindergarten tours, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful way to serve the community. I've seen a lot of history, and a lot of construction, and changes all the time. It's constantly changing, constantly changing.
I actually started working here 50 years ago today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Were you a candy striper too in the early days?
No, I started in the lab.
Oh.
Yeah, right out of school.
Well,
I was looking at the date and it's like, how about that?
How are you?
Look, we have the Lennon sisters here. Can you do a little song for us?
Oh yeah, right. You don't want me singing.
And now, live from St. Croix Regional Medical Center, go! Da da dee 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 doo. Excellent.
Really good. My name is Margie Sterry. I started here in 1973. I work in the laboratory. Oh yes, things in the laboratory have changed tremendously. We did everything manually, and now everything is automated. Well, the microscopes are pretty much the same, but the analyzers are completely different. Yeah, microscopes are still the same, but the hematology analyzer and the chemistry analyzer is completely different. And now we have the new PCR technology, so everything has changed completely. It isn't anything like it was back then. Well, we used to make our own media. We used to grow microorganisms. We used to get the powder and we used to heat it up and dissolve it and pour the plates. And now we just buy everything commercially. And like a coagulation, we used to watch for the clot in the tube, and now everything's automated. We used to count all the white cells, red and white cells manually, and now everything is counted by an analyzer. So
I mean, you'd have a little hand clicker?
Yes.
If you could get a new piece of equipment with no cost though, what would you love to have in the lab?
Stay in the differential and read the differential. That would be really nice.
Okay, we're going to get that for you. As soon as we win the lottery.
I was on the board for 9 years, from 1979 to 1988. We did a lot of expansions. There were some things over there about getting accreditation through JCH. But buying lab equipment and all this kind of stuff was important.
Yeah.
And I was talking to you have to have that kind of equipment to get where we are today, because we obviously went from one piece of equipment to the next and replacing those, and now you always have to keep up to date on that.
I remember when they reused the needles. Of course, they sanitized them. But Dr. Fred would, when he'd give you a shot in your butt, he'd have you bend over and then he'd slap you and stick it in, and you never felt it. Oh, I came here as a kid. I used to get sinus infections all the time.
Yeah.
The kids have a volleyball.
Now, you never went to the house. You're not that old, are you?
Oh, yes.
You went
not
to
for the hospital, but they were still running that as a clinic in 48, 49.
Oh.
50. Yeah. 51 even. Yeah, the house was still used as a clinic up in through the 50s.
Thank you for being here today. I am your prize lady, so we are doing our 2:30 prize right now. Hopefully you all got your name in the drawing. Just to remind you of what we have drawing right now, we have a yoga set, Hit the Stage Spa gift card, and Lindstrom or Webster Wellness Center gift card as well. So depending on your demographics, we'll make sure you get the right gift card for there. I will have this lovely volunteer pull a name for me, not to put you on the spot or anything. Drum roll. Daryl. Anderson.
The yoga thing, I'm going to claim it.
Daryl, you have to. Christmas is around the corner. Don't tell your wife you won.
A big round of applause for him! Hey, Daryl.
Yes, sir.
You know what? I bet you've got a connection here, don't you?
We did the laundry. We were a vendor here. We were the laundry service here for 40 years.
Did they pay their bills on time?
They were always prompt on that, kept the cash flow going. And then I was mayor in St. Croix for 2 years. We had a great working relationship. So, and an asset to the community for sure. Born here.
Wow.
My kids were born here. So. Well, one of my best friends was John Edling, you know, and of course he was the ambulance in the area for all them years. So he'd always have stories to tell. And I remember the Bill Freeling heart issue, you know, when they brought him back to life. I remember that. Oh, I mean, the old janitorial staff. I mean, we had Kenny Andrewson was here, Richard Peterson. And of course in the laundry part where we had Andrewson, Lorna Andrewson, she was here for a number of years. That Anderson woman from up by Eureka, Wilma Anderson I believe it was. Of course then Jan Hansen came in, so no, I've known a lot of people.
Well, speaking of cotton that gets stained, is it harder to get blood or grape juice out of white cotton?
Oh, grape juice. Grape juice, the best way is with the scissors. Blood's not a problem. That's a protein that came out pretty easy. So.
Well, I was born here in 1947 on August 19th, and it was the hottest day of the year, and it held the record for many years. And we lived in Grantsburg, but my mom liked Dr. Jake, so she had her babies down here in St. Croix Falls. And they had just sold the farm out east of Grantsburg, and when moving day came, Mom was in the hospital, so my dad's sisters from the Twin Cities came up and helped him move everything from the farm to the house in town. When my mom came home with me, she didn't know where anything was.
Am I on?
Sure, yeah, you're on. Go ahead, yeah.
Well, it was a real privilege to be here for over 30 years. What I remember as a special thing is that each morning before we make rounds, most of the doctors would gather in the doctor's lounge at about 7 o'clock in the morning before surgery started. And I think we did most of our business talking about what we were going to do and so on in that half an hour before surgery began. And so it was really a special time when the doctors kind of ran the business. And now it's gone corporate. And outside of the Mayo Clinic, the doctors still own everything and run it. You know, that doesn't happen anymore. So those are special times.
Yeah. What are you doing in your time off now? Do you have any time off?
Not enough. Oh, I play golf once a week, and I read a couple books a week. But I don't really enjoy being not working. I'd rather be working. And matter of fact, I worked until 2 years ago. When I was 82, I kind of slowed down. I had a clinic in the Twin Cities I worked at. But I would still be working here if it weren't for the computers. The software has never been written for people like me who aren't too smart. And but that's for the young people, I guess.
And what's your name?
Johnson.
Johnson.
Amy Audrey, whichever
Amy
you like.
Audrey Johnson.
Uh-huh. Cheryl, can you verify that it is indeed her?
Yeah, I can.
Have you known her?
Yes, she's
from-
my cousin.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, how did you become associated with this fine institution?
Well, it's a long story. No, I did nurses training, and then my dad lived outside of Taylor's Falls. And when I was looking for a job, this was open, so I came here. And I worked before they ever built any new buildings, I worked at the old hospital where the house was, and at the house, where we had patients upstairs and doctor's offices downstairs, and every once in a while I'd get this call that said, "Come down here, we need you down here for a little bit." So I'd go running downstairs to see what's going on, and then go back up and take care of people in the beds.
So that was in 1952?
Yeah.
1952 she
It's 52 I started.
Dwight Eisenhower was going to be elected, I think.
Something like that.
So, were you a nurse?
Yes.
Okay, but they didn't have specialties back then. They were nurses.
Just a nurse.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, just a nurse.
Well, so what were the rooms like? They were just all little bedrooms that had a couple of beds in for patients?
Oh no, they had more than that. I think they were like wards. They had about 4 beds. In a couple of them.
Okay, so they're larger rooms then.
Yeah, they were larger.
And did the nurses just have a little thing at the end of the hallway to sit at?
They didn't sit at them very long. There was a desk, but you didn't take much time there. And they had all the clinics downstairs, so every once in a while you'd be in the middle of something and you'd get a call that said, "Come down here, we need help down here now." So you'd run down and see what they needed downstairs, and then when you got done, you'd go back up.
So the clinic rooms were downstairs, and the hospital beds were upstairs.
Hospital beds were upstairs, yeah.
And where was the kitchen?
The kitchen was, I don't even remember. No, the kitchen was on the first floor, but it was back in the back part of the building.
So they had to carry those meals up all those stairs too.
They did.
Where were you living? Did you walk to work?
No, I lived across the river, but my dad had a farm west of Taylor's Falls. So I lived about maybe 5 or 6 miles from here.
And what was your dad's name?
Henry Jacobson.
Okay.
I always tell people I've worked so many places.
It's hard to remember. Yeah,
I can't always put them all in the right place.
What were the main doctors that you worked with that come to mind?
Dr. Belsi and Dr. Frederico.
So, Carol, how do you fit into the hospital?
My husband was a physician here for 32 years. Always, the patient comes first, always.
There you go. Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I would certainly agree with that.
All right. Well, then you two shake hands.
Okay, we'll do it.
They agree?
We agree.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Vicki Blight, married to Mayor Mike here, and truly we just love this area. It's awesome. The hospital has been great in many ways for our family, especially with Mike and going through a few things. So they've been right there for us, and so grateful, just ever grateful. Just love living here.
How long have you lived in the area, Mike?
Actually, on October 1st, it'll be 30 years, so we're no longer considered an outsider. As you know or don't know, I have a special relationship with this facility because they saved my life a little over 4.5 years ago. So I'm here because of them, and very thankful for that.
Would you like to thank any doctors or nurses in particular?
You know, unfortunately, because of the brief stay that I was here and not really paying attention to who the doctors were, I was just trying to stay alive. I honestly don't know who they were, but I did take the time to send them a card and thank everybody, and it'd be nice to know. I do know the paramedics who saved my life and was able to shake their hands and give them hugs. So, and also the cardiologist at Regents when I was airlifted, because it was about a 12-minute ride, and I don't remember much of it. It was actually more fun in Wisconsin Dells having an air helicopter ride, but it wasn't life-threatening at that time.
It helps to be conscious, doesn't it?
It does, and sitting upright instead of laying down with earmuffs on your ears.
Right. Yes. So what do people in the community think of the hospital?
Oh, I think they love it because it's so close and there's so many specialists. It's like they just take care of us in beautiful ways.
And I can always say I was impressed with the people who treated me because there were so many people and so much activity going on. Most people would think maybe you'd have chaotic people running into each other, but they weren't. They knew exactly where they needed to be. I could tell the doctor was in charge. He was in control of the whole thing. So my experiences in ER have been wonderful. I don't like coming to ER. I don't like coming to the doctor, but you know, if I'm going to come, this is the place I'm going to come. And I'm impressed because we are a facility of great primary care doctors. The specialists it's incredible. I've recommended and referred people to this facility because of the specialists that we have.
I've heard a rumor that some people from Taylor's Falls will actually cross the river to come over here.
You know, we do that, and we actually allow people to cross St. Croix Falls over into here, but there is a toll fee for them to cross into Minnesota. We don't charge them to go back, though. We usually pay them to go back. But
that's what I'm thinking.
Exactly. But it is kind of fun because it's two different states, but it's one community. Yeah. And we have to always remember that because you look at how the church started, where it started, it's the community that actually helped the church to be here and stay here. Yeah. And I think that our independence is very important to our providers. Myself, we need to be independent rather than gobbled up by, you know, Fairview or Health Partners or Mayo. Not that they're bad facilities, but I'd rather be independent. We do have rock falls. We have people that will climb the rocks and fall, but the ones who fall most frequently are the people who are watching them. So they're looking at the rock climber, they're not paying any attention, and they walk off the trail and they fall down into the rock area. And so we're fortunate because both cities have high-level rescue firefighters who have the climbing equipment, they have the training, the skills. They can actually rappel down the rocks, strap people on and bring them back up again so they can be loaded in the ambulance. So, and most of the people that fall are tourists. And into the river, that's usually maybe once a year that happens. Great area, wonderful community, both of them. We have never been treated so nicely by both communities compared to any place else we've lived because we were brought in, we were family. It was like we were adopted right off the bat, and it was really nice. What a blessing it is. Hasta la vista, baby.
Well, I came to work here almost 17 years ago, and now I work for the medical staff as administrative assistant. So when I first started here, I worked in registration, and it was truly called registration. We just registered the patients to go to the doctor. And now their role is very different. They are patient access, so they're very different.
This is Nikki.
This is Nancy.
Well, hi, Nikki and Nancy.
Hi.
Are you guys both in somehow with food preparation?
Been here almost 14 years.
And you?
6 years.
Oh, you're a newbie, aren't you?
I'm the newbie.
So you really have to ask her a lot of questions, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. Have you taught her how to operate a spoon?
Yes.
Okay. So when you're, do you actually interact with the patients, or are you mostly back in the, preparation part?
I'm the kitchen coordinator, so I'm in the kitchen.
Okay, and?
And I do interact with the patients. Sometimes I'm the hospitality aide, and I'll go up and get their orders and bring them their food.
Yeah. So do you ever have fussy patients?
No.
They're all perfect.
What a diplomatic answer. I couldn't ask for a better answer than that. You are smart. I appreciate that.
Their favorite color is red. I was with them yesterday. I was surrounded by the red.
Well, Dave, since you're here, I want you to say something kind about, nutritional services.
Nutritional services, they're wonderful. They're stars. They're stars at SCRMC.
Look at them glow.
Yeah.
All right, now stand next to each other, and now I want you to, that's it, okay. There they are, nutritional services. Okay.
And we have the most awesome boss.
Yes.
Well, say something kind about him then.
Her.
Oh, that boss.
That boss. She's our boss.
Yes. She told me about all the food, and she explained it exquisitely. I mean, she knows her food.
She does.
I don't see any sushi here today.
No, someone asked me where the octopus was. I said, not this crowd.
Oh, okay. Not this crowd. Hey, Bill, how do you know St. Croix Regional Medical Center?
Well, I was here when it started for 86 years ago.
Really?
I was born here.
You were born in the house?
Yeah.
And who delivered you?
I suppose Jake maybe did.
Yeah.
Well, I've been here many times, you know, for different things. And I was here in 1941. I was hit by a truck. And so then I was down here for 9.5 weeks in bed.
Oh my, that's
and I got
months.
out of it.
No, it's 2 months.
Yeah, it was over 2 months.
Well, would it smash up your legs or what?
Well, I had a road rash here and a broken pelvis and a fractured skull.
Oh man! But you got good care evidently because you're walking.
Well, I made it.
And it hurt like hell, didn't it?
Well, I suppose I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
You know, I was out, but they just brought me in and laid me in bed, and that's about it.
Now, when that happened, 41, was it still in the house or had they built the hospital?
Oh, no, that was in the house. This was before the war. Yeah, see, I was in the hospital when they bombed Pearl Harbor.
Ah. Wow, you've been around the block, haven't you?
Well, I've been around here.
Well, thank you for letting us know. Be well.
Yeah, maybe there ain't too many here that was born here that long ago.
Yeah. And you know, the doctor, when you were born, you know what he said? He said, it's a boy.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. Jake, I suppose it was him, because he was the only one here then.
It'd have to
There
be.
was another one here when I was hurt in 41, that was Dr. Kelly. And then he got killed when he was deer hunting a few years later.
Oh.
He lived in Taylor's Falls.
Yeah. Well, have you ever looked at your birth certificate to see what doctor's name was on it?
Not really, but I suppose it would have, who else would it be?
It would be. You're a regal boy.
So just to remind all of you, we have a stability exercise ball, a set of dumbbells, and a Lindstrom or a Webster Wellness gift card. And let me tell you, these bags are sturdy. We got at least 16 pounds in here, so you can get a lot of groceries in this bag. I'm gonna have lovely Jean Doty draw a name out of here.
My name's not in there.
Her name's not in there. Lynn Peterson. Do we have a Lynn Peterson? Come on down, Lynn!
A little delayed reaction.
Yeah,
but...
right. Oh wait, we can do it again.
Okay, try it again. One. Okay. That's good. Okay, well, Lauren, how do you fit into this? I mean,
well, in 1952, I had my tonsils out in the old Baker house. I was first grade.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving time. It was a snowstorm. The roads weren't plowed, so my dad carried me up the hill here to the Baker house from Main Street. And then I thought they were going to kill me. Dr. Joe Belshey did the surgery. And they put me on the table and then shoved my arms into the sleeves so you couldn't move. Pasted my face with the ether, put the mask over me. I thought they were going to kill me.
You were scared when
I
that
was
mask
scared
came
still,
on.
yes. And then I went to sleep, and that was it.
And when you woke up, you had a lot of ice cream around you, I'm sure.
Oh boy, I had a water bottle that was cold. It was wrapped around my neck. It was outpatient surgery. I went home the same day.
Oh, they were so cruel back then.
Thanksgiving dinner was hard to eat that year.
That's a great story, Laura. Thank you. How about you, Faye?
I worked here for 24 years and 1 week in the Human Resources Department.
Oh, that last week.
Oh, the last 6 months were long. By the time I made the decision to retire, I shouldn't have given 6 months. 1 month should have been plenty, but well, I was going to be nice.
So were you responsible for hiring people?
Employee benefits, discipline, termination.
Now, is Lauren a good candidate? What do you think?
Since his last name is Canaday, I'd say yes, he's a good candidate.
Oh my, oh my, oh my.
Depends on which field, though.
Well,
Brain surgery? No.
Yes. What is? Do you know him?
I'm married to him.
Okay. Well, then you do
Almost
know.
50 years.
Okay. Well. All right. So Faye, say something nice about Laura.
He's intelligent. Put me on the spot.
Yeah, thank you.
He has nothing nice to say about me.
Say something nice about Faye.
Oh. Well, she always came home.
Now, Marianne, is it true you used to work here?
I did, yes. I worked over 40 years. I worked in the hospital and the clinic. Mm-hmm.
Were you a nurse?
Yep, I was a nurse, yes. I was born here.
And do you remember who delivered you?
Yes, Dr. Fred Riegel.
Well, actually, you don't remember. You heard.
Yeah.
You heard that he delivered you.
Yeah. And Cindy was my boss at the clinic.
Ah,
Yeah.
Cindy. Well, now, did she behave as an employee, or did she double park?
Oh,
or?
no. She was the best behaved.
The check's in the mail, as you well know. So, did you have a specialty with an award that you were at, like children or geriatric or cancer? Did you just float around? Or?
Yeah, pretty much everywhere.
I mean, that's what they did back then?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I say back then, I don't know. What are we talking about? The 60s?
I mean, when I was in the hospital, I mean, you did move from one department to the other, and by the time I left the hospital, I had worked in every department there. Including, during the strike, we scrubbed floors. Yeah.
A
way
strike?
Back. There was a strike in 1971. Was it one?
That's
okay.
the year I started.
Okay.
When I retired, I was the vice president of the clinic.
Ah, okay. And this was that before, how long ago was that?
I retired in,
Stick to my list.
think about this now, 2012.
Okay.
Well, we were just reminiscing what a great place it was to work. A family. It really was a place to be with your friends and good work.
So there's those golden, and you obviously were in the golden period together.
Yes. We worked hard, but we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Can you name some of the people you worked with that you thought were pretty cool?
Well, Cindy was awesome to work with.
Cindy,
Yeah.
just eat that up, okay?
Yeah. Barbie Mallory, she was a nursing supervisor. She was really sweet and worked hard. I can remember when I worked in the emergency room, and that would have been probably in the 80s, and a man came in on a weekend, middle of the night, and he fell in the water, boating, and the prop just slashed his back, and it was really bad. And Dr. Olson came in and sutured all that up in the emergency room. That was probably pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, I can just tell by those satisfying nods that we have reached the end of our discussion here. And would you two just shake hands like your old buddies?
Oh, we need
No.
Oh, yes.
Say goodbye in a foreign language.
Arrivederci. Okay. I was going to think of a Swedish goodbye, but
Just
goodbye.
make up Swedish. Just say something.
Tack.
So did you wait around while your kids were being born?
No, in them days you didn't do that. They let you know if you had a child or not.
Do you think it's a good place? Good hospital?
Oh yeah, we keep coming back.
Hello there, how are you?
And he was born here, wasn't he?
I sure was. 1960, Dr. Freddy.
You know what? I remember Dr. Freddy slapped you and he said, it's a boy.
Yeah, he continued to slap me.
Are you with him?
Well, yeah, I was for a minute. Yeah.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Well, that's nice.
I am.
Look at you, Tula. You just fit together very nicely. Now, Margie, have you ever been in the hospital here?
Yes.
Okay, and look at you. You're out and walking and everything.
I have 2 children here. You know, I was always worried about Dr. Wagner having to come on the 4th of July for one of the children. And wouldn't you know, our son was born on July 5th, and that was Dr. Wagner's day off.
So, did he come in on his day off?
Yes, he did. He came in on his day off.
And you were very grateful.
Yes, I was very grateful. Very grateful.
All right. Thank you, you two. I think you should give each other a kiss. Don't you think so? Come on.
That's for 63 years.
That's good. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm Sarah Egan. I've been an employee here for 11 years, and I couldn't be more proud of St. Croix Regional Medical Center and this facility and how good a care you give to me, my family, and how we provide great care to our patients. I work in oncology, so I work with chemo patients and people that have long-term chronic illnesses like rheumatoid arthritis and Crohn's. We do use the volunteers quite a bit, like when we run lab samples.
Yeah.
We run their little legs off because we'll call down to the information desk. And hi, Wayne, thank you for doing that. But there's several wonderful ladies, and Wayne, our valet driver, and they'll come up and grab our lab samples and run them to the lab for us. Well, I want to shout out to Amy Wright and Lori, who runs our department. Phenomenal caring people for the people that are struggling with cancer. I think we have fantastic doctors, but especially I want to recognize Tori Lean. She's a nurse practitioner. She started as a nurse with me, and here she is taking care of our patients alongside the doctors. So just tremendous opportunities here. And then I would really like to shout out to Carrie Lungsman. No, I'm sorry. She got married, yes, a long time ago, and I haven't transitioned yet. So Carrie is a phenomenal supervisor, and I've worked many years, so you can tell I've got a few wrinkles, and she's the best boss I've had so far.
SCRMC, 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 SCRMC.
Okay, all right, great. You're just making so many people happy.
Good. That's what I'm about. I like customer service and making people.
And Elizabeth, are you happy today?
Yes, I am.
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
And are you pleased that St. Croix Regional Medical Center is in existence?
Yes, I am.
Ask her how many years she's been here.
How many years have you been here?
29 years.
You mean you've been working here for 29 years?
29 years.
Who was president 29 years ago?
Oh my goodness, that's a history lesson that
I know.
Catherine, answer for me.
It would have been 1988, no, 1990?
90.
So it would have been Bush.
Yep, Bush Sr.
Bush Sr.
Yeah, in fact, he had a presidential award for you, but you were too busy working to accept it.
Thank you very much.
Well, now what did you do, or what do you do? What field are you in?
I'm in nutrition services, and I do the food.
She does all the catering, and she's my right hand.
Did you assist in the preparation today of this?
I did.
You did the veggie trays?
Veggie trays.
Well, They are all very impressive. So you have justified your existence again.
Well, thank you.
Do you know this guy?
Oh yeah, this is my husband.
Uh-huh. Greg, is that it?
Yep.
Greg, tell me how wonderful your wife is. She's great.
She's great.
He's a man of few words, but
Yes.
but that was a compliment, wasn't
Right.
it? Okay.
This is my friend Gloria.
Well, hi, Gloria. Do you work here too? No. Okay, but you've heard of St. Croix Regional Medical?
Oh yeah.
Were you born here?
No.
Okay.
Her kids were.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Were they
two of
born?
the kids.
Were they born in captivity? Okay. Oh, that's an old joke. Eileen, did you work here? Or you did? Eileen, are you done eating?
I'm still working.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Just casual though.
Casual means when you feel like it?
Well, it used to, but right now it's 2 days a week.
Oh, okay.
I know, but I'm casual. No benefits.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because I'm really retired. But it's going on 33 years since I started working.
But it's good to be busy and do stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm worried about, like I was telling these guys, I keep the brain active.
Yeah. Well, so what do you do when you're here now?
I'm in coding.
Coding?
Yes.
Not codeine. Coding.
Coding. We prepare the accounts to go to the claim, to go to insurance.
Oh, and everything has to have its number, so it just goes through their computers and bada bing, bada boom.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, you have a very important role. You're a hero to me because there's so much change and fluctuation in that industry.
Yeah, and especially the government stuff, Medicare, and
Yeah.
they're changing.
What is a good health system that's easy to work with?
One that pays for everything and doesn't have any policies for medical necessity or,
Yeah.
CCI edits where you can't build this code with this, and
And who is that?
I don't think it
Oh,
exists.
Oh, I see. It's
We have to reform.
It's a dream. Yeah.
And we just switched from a diagnosis coding system to a brand new one that the rest of the world has been using for years. We were slow because all of our insurance companies weren't picking up on it. They all had to redo their programs too in order to bill that way. So I can't remember how many years ago it was, maybe 5 years ago or that.
So that's when people get stuck on the lurch, is when two systems change and they're trying to retrofit and accommodate new things.
And then every year there's updates. So everybody's system has to get the updates in.
Yeah.
They add codes and they delete codes and they change codes.
Is your coding system similar to, like, say, another hospital? Is it standardized?
Yep. We all use the same in this country.
Okay, so it's like an American standardization of medical nomenclature.
Yeah. And it starts with the World Health Organization. They write it.
Oh, okay. And then Europe may not subscribe to that, but America does.
Yeah, but actually Europe had it first.
Oh, they did? Oh, so we're coming out of the dark. Did you do this back when you were working full-time? Do coding?
Yep.
Well, you've got to be an invaluable person with your knowledge, I would think. Don't you think?
Yeah, that's great.
All right, let's buy her lunch. Okay. Oh, wait a minute, we just had lunch.
I have a question.
Roger, were you born here?
I believe I was, yes. Actually, I'm part of the Veterans Healthcare Program. I have had some services here because veterans do use local hospitals from time to time. Back when I was in high school, I had to have a hernia repair, and that was done here. Dr. Olson would have done that.
And you woke up and survived.
I survived, yeah.
We're employees, but we work independently with Croyland Cleaning.
Ah. Have you felt at home here?
For the most part, yes.
And actually,
Tom has been here forever and a day.
is that Tom right there?
No, this is
the other Tom.
the other Tom.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
he's the boss.
Oh, Tom the boss.
We get to see a lot of the doctors at night that come in to do their late night charting. It's been very interesting.
Oh, so is that when most of the action happens at night, so you're not around the
yeah.
day?
Yeah.
Well, that would make sense. Duh. I mean, you can tell how naive I am about what it takes to, maintain a facility.
Here's the boss. He knows.
Ah, hey, boss. Boss, have you had any problems with fumage lately?
What's fumage?
Fumage, things, fumes coming out. Because, hair loss, I believe. Look at, he's had a lot of fumage.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I hope it's not contagious.
I know it's hereditary. I let my kids know it.
Ah, okay. All right. Thanks for coming. Carol Davis, who are you?
Well, I've lived here quite a long time, and I've been at this hospital for a long time.
Working or as a patient?
Well, as a patient. I've gone way back through the 60s as far as doctoring here. And
do you remember some early doctors?
Dr. Carl Hansen. They don't come any better.
I think she's recommended.
And we both just had surgery last year here.
And look at how well you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Dan had Dr. Nunes, who's in the other room.
Dan?
Yes. Yep.
Say hi.
Hi. Hey, we're very happy with the work. I got out of surgery in 2 days, and I was out of the state in 2 weeks, so I thought that was pretty good.
And our neighbor had the same surgery and was in the hospital 11 days.
At a different hospital.
At a different hospital, and another 2 weeks of recuperating. By that time, we were in Texas. And then I had my second knee done here. The first one 13 years ago and one last year.
Well, that really must have helped your rumba dancing.
Oh, you ought to see me rumba dance. No kidding.
Did you ever work here or volunteer or anything?
No, I'm a lifetime member up at Cardiac Rehab.
Ah.
I go up there 3 days a week, do my 4 miles. They're absolutely wonderful. Everybody up there is just so encouraging and so positive.
And they know you by name now, don't they?
Yes, they sure do. I know all the volunteers, all the drivers, everybody.
Yeah.
Very personable. I love it.
I wasn't born here. I was born at my home, where I sleep now.
Oh.
My mother didn't make it over here, but so.
You mean she wanted to, but she just didn't have time.
Yeah. And I had 2 girls that were born here at this hospital.
I'm Dave Dolasinski. I'm the CEO and president of SCRMC, and I have Frank Johnson. Frank Johnson, I'm a physical therapist and the practice administrator, so I help support the physician class. So we're going to go on up. It's a good reference point from a standpoint of the organization. If you go back, the original hospital after the hospital was right around 1957. I think they started around 1955. It actually is down below there where the OB unit is. So you were talking about the OB unit. At the time it wasn't the OB unit, and it used to be the entrance to the hospital. And in fact, if you look on the outside, you'll see St. Croix Valley Memorial Hospital. We left it on the EFIS so people could remember that from a historical perspective. That was the original hospital that was built by both sides of the river. Came together to make that happen. And if I remember right, the lead person was actually from Taylor's Falls that led that effort. So it was a joint effort. In fact, the house that was the hospital here had there was a similar one over in Taylor's Falls, and it still exists. So in general, it started out as a 23-bed hospital, or actually 25-bed hospital. I'm trying to remember the numbers, but they transferred 23 patients from the house and carried them over into the hospital.
Offices too.
Yeah.
I think it was like closer to like a 50-bed hospital.
Oh yeah, went to
so
30,
bigger than it is now.
35. Now you got my get my numbers right because Jack's taping. 35 bed, and it eventually got to 99 beds. The hospital here. They had an addition here. The wing came out this way, and also in '59 they partnered with the Hazelden Foundation. How many know the Hazelden Foundation? And they partnered with them, so they had a huge unit here to deal with. Chemical dependency, behavioral health issues. It was the medical unit for the residential program over in Center City. So there was a long history there until it changed back to a residential program. So I'll ask you a question. How many beds are we today?
206.
206. Really? No.
Less than 99.
Yeah, that's really close, Jack. It's 25. 25 beds. And we do periodically come into where we're bumping up to it. But in general, that's what that is. We average about 16 to 17 patients a day.
Healthcare now, very little done in the hospital and more done as outpatient or now even in people's homes.
Yeah, don't matter how bad you are.
It's changing.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun when you get down here. We have actually the inpatient pharmacy is down this corridor that supports this, and also supports the infusion center, which is part of the Cancer Center of Western Wisconsin. And a lot of people don't know Cancer Center of Western Wisconsin. We have a location also up in Frederick, Wisconsin, and New Richmond. And for that, it is a joint program. It's very unique in the country that there's 6 hospitals partnering in cancer care. So it's kind of a model across the country from a cooperative perspective, working together to bring it to the rural area. We also have on display some of the pharmaceutical stuff that's tied to the history. And it was much simpler back then than what we see today. And so it's kind of fun to take a look at that. What we did find out was some of them, they still had some material in it, so we had to clean them out, get them out. That was part of just something we discovered later after we said, woo, something's going on. And we looked at it and said, well, there's some residue left. We also have Lloyd Olson, our first surgeon, left some of his stuff as far as a collection perspective, so that's really another piece. And both the Regals and Dr. Olson are kind of considered, the fathers of this organization. He was the first surgeon who came when this new hospital was built. The legacy he left behind and how many procedures, just phenomenal when it comes to being a rural surgeon and working in a rural area, which meant he worked every day. Yeah. He never talked about us being on call because that's the way it was. When you chose to go rural, that was your life.
Being the only surgeon, he did everything. So general surgery, OB, orthopedics, he did all 25,000 procedures.
Did he really? Wow. Dr. Lloyd Olson, when this actual surgery center was built, he was so proud he couldn't believe it. And having it named after him meant the world to him. That has changed today. Most docs do not spend their entire career anymore. It's a very different model today. And it doesn't mean they're not good, docs or anything like that. It just fits with where the culture is, the generations at this time. The ER down there, just phenomenal. They see about 10,000 visits a year, which is very high for a rural facility, and it continues to grow. So we are definitely in a growth spurt. We've grown about 40% in the last 10 years. So we're going to see a lot of growth from a community perspective, and definitely seeing it towards the Minnesota side and the Chisago Lakes area. There's a lot of development starting to really blossom and bloom. So we're going to see that. And we moved to serve that area also. So we serve both sides of the river. We see patients that some drive 100 miles to come here to get specialty care.
Just this week we were recertified for our trauma certification, so they came in and surveyed the ER, and they were very impressed with the heated helipad. And that would cut time.
We're here on the helipad at St. Croix Regional Medical Center. The big thing about this helipad is that this was funded through donations from the community. Prior to this, we used to have to transport the patients up on the hill and then get them on the helicopter and get them out. It would add probably 40 minutes in a transfer. Now we can get them up and off and going to where they need to get care within 5 minutes. Based on emergency situations. The neat thing about this is it's also got, in the winter we have to keep this so that it doesn't freeze, ice and stuff. So it's quite an elaborate thing and very rare for a rural organization like us, rural hospital, to have a helipad like this on the roof.
How many do we have a week or?
We maybe probably 5 to 6 fly out a month.
Hey Dave, introduce me to these guys over here.
Well, we got Ember Khan, Dr. Khan, you're a nephrologist, who was also a hospitalist and nephrologist, now nephrologist. And then we have Adele Nagar, who actually is our pain management and rehab physician and runs our pain clinic here.
And who's this?
That's Jody. That's my. Well, actually, I'm her husband.
Ah,
yeah, let's do it right.
As time melts away, a new era begins.
Just a reminder of what our prize is for our 4:30 drawing, which you must be present to win, is an Echo, a retail pharmacy gift card, a sweet mug, and a nice grocery bag. Okay? Can you draw a name for me, please? Richard? Rick? Rick is here?
We have a winner!
Rick! You lucky guy! We just talked
Did I win?
it. Congrats!
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for keeping us safe.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you for coming today.
Well, we are here for the 100th anniversary, and we're very proud of what has happened in the last 100 years. We're proud of where we're at today, and of course, we're proud of where we're going for the future.
SCRMC, 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 SCRMC.